La soluzione è liberare l'Africa da certi europei che la sfruttano e consentire a queste persone di vivere di quello che hanno.
Some of the ways to really call somebody up onto action is to stop where the money comes from. If you want to hurt somebody, you hit their income. They're going to react positively. What's up, everybody? I hope you're doing good. Zack, Mwekassa, the Black Warrior. Today we have some more news in Africa. Very interesting stuff. It's been a while since the last time though. But let's jump into it. We'll look into it later. Great. So we got news, not so good news actually, from Italy, depending on which side of life you stand on. Italy has vowed to help with IMF in the bid of stabilizing Tunisia. Italy is vowing a host of investments in Tunisia and help negotiating the International Monetary Fund bailout for the North African country. So basically what happened a while back, I don't know if you remember, the president Kais Saied of Tunisia made a very inflammatory comment about Southern Africans migrants.
وثم الحملات المسعورة متاع الناس المأجورين وعملاء للخارج ولجهات المشبوهة لضرب الدولة التونسية يتحدثوا اليوم عن القضايا المتعلقة بالآفاق. نحن آثرنا على أنفسنا وقت الكوفيد نوزعوا الأدوية ونوزعوا على الآفاق ونحن نرتز بانتمائنا الأفريقي، ولكن هم بطبيعة الحال تأويلهم اليوم هم يحبوا يغيروا التركيبة الديموغرافية لتونس وترتيب وخذوا فلوس كما اللي خذوا فلوس في عديد القطاعات الأخرى لضرب الدولة التونسية ولضرب الشعب التونسي.
He said something along the lines of African migrants are here to change the demographic of Tunisia. So basically, they're not here looking for a better life. They're not here because things are difficult back home, but they're here because their goal, it's a conspiracy. It's a plot to change Tunisia's demographic. And what does that mean? Changing demographics means changing the nature of the people. You know, in Tunisia, most of the people are of Arabic descent or Berber, and they don't consider themselves as black. Changing the demographic only means that African migrants that come through Tunisia looking for ways to get to Europe are there for the goals of changing the demographic of the country. And that inflamed a lot of people. Many people were not happy about that comment. A lot of people came forward saying that it's racist, calling him out on what he said, including the African Union. The African Union said that was unacceptable because a day right after he made this comment on television, many Tunisians came on the road beating on African nationals. Yes, and that's not good. And many Tunisians will say to you that they're not racist, which we completely understand and believe. But how does somebody make a comment about Southern Africans and the next days many people come to the street and start beating on those people? Not very nice, considering the fact that many Africans accept many people from any side of the world without any difficulties. Italy vows help to IMF in bids to stabilize Tunisia. Italy is vowing to host an investment in Tunisia and help negotiating an international monetary fund in a bailout for the Northern African country. So basically what happened was the IMF came forward and say, we're not going to give you the money that you were looking for. The International Monetary Fund had already negotiated with Tunisia with a help that goes up to $500 million. That was the money Tunisia was awaiting from the IMF. After the president made that comment, they decided not to give them the money. And many people found that really, really acceptable because some of the ways to really call somebody up onto action is to stop where the money comes from. If you want to hurt somebody, you hit their income. They're going to react positively. And the Tunisian government said that the president was not racist. His comment was not racist. It was misunderstood. He's got black friends. He's got black workers, and that should be acceptable. So Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani of Italy has outlined that Italy's effort pledged during the meeting with the Tunisian counterpart, Abil Anmar, who insisted that Tunisia has been growing numbers of African migrants arriving from Libya border and needs economic help. The Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development said that Tunisia is experiencing the worst crisis in generation, with inflation hovering around 11% and food increasingly scarce. The government is negotiating a $2 billion to $4 billion loan with IMF to cope with the budget deficits and aggravated by the COVID-19 pandemic and the fallout from Russia war and Ukraine. So basically, they're trying to save Tunisia. And this is Italy, fellas. So Italy is looking for ways to save Tunisia because they say things are really bad in Tunisia. Why? Because IMF, which is the International Monetary Fund, decided not to fund Tunisia anymore. They blocked $500 million that was supposed to go to Tunisia because the president made a comment that was inflammatory and deemed racist. So now Italy has come forward and said, no, you cannot cut the fund from Tunisia because they need the money. They're going through a very difficult time. You need to pay the money to Tunisia. Tajani vowed to work on Tunisia's behalf in negotiating with the IMF, repeating Italy's proposal that the loan will be delivered in 2 tranches and not be fully dependent on all forms being in place. Italy wants a stable and prosperous Tunisia because it has become a major point of departure for some of the 31,000 migrants who have reached Italy so far this year. So basically, Italy has received over 31,000 migrants. And clearly that's the reason why they want to come to bail out Tunisia. From those of us who don't understand, many Africans who come obviously from sub-Saharan Africa come through Tunisia trying to find a way to Europe. Because obviously Tunisia is very close to Europe, so it's very easy for them naturally to walk through Tunisia to find a way to Europe. Unfortunately, many of them through that journey go through many difficulties. Many are beaten. Many lose their own, you know what I mean? I cannot say the word because we're going to be censored. Many are mistreated and it's really, really, really bad. It's a sad situation to see. As much as we may think that we understand humanity, sometimes you just want to help. You should just help when you see somebody in trouble. I feel like you should help sometimes. Unfortunately, many of these young men, young Africans, do not get that favor. They are punished, they are beaten, they are kept into slavery. Sometimes they are, and that's very sad. So many have gone through Tunisia. And after the president of Tunisia made this comment that was inflammatory, deemed at least by many people, the IMF blocked the fund. So Tunisia could not benefit from the fund. Now, surprisingly, Italy has received more than 31,000 migrants this year only. So what's going on here? What's happening here? It looks like Tunisia has let people pass in mass in order to create a reaction. I mean, we're just trying to think here. Have they let people pass in mass to create a reaction, maybe? So that Italy can speak out in order to get things back on track where they used to be, meaning the finances and the money and the fund. Okay, so if you're not paying us the money you were supposed to pay us, then we're going to let these people pass. And actually more of them so we can just see how you react. Tajani says, for us, the fundamental point is to guarantee the stability of Tunisia, while stressing that Italy cannot act as a colonizer. The international community cannot underestimate the strategic importance of Tunisia in the Mediterranean. Most of the migrants leaving Tunisia aren't Tunisians, he said. Most migrants who have arrived in Italy this year from all migration routes held from Ivory Coast, followed by Guinea and Pakistan. Ivory Coast, Guinea and Pakistan. So Pakistan has come through Africa as well. I mean, I'm a bit confused there. What he's trying to say here is you cannot underestimate the importance of Tunisia at this specific moment. Tunisia is playing a very, very important role in blocking African migrants coming to Europe. That's what he's saying, right? That's literally what he's saying. I mean, in other words, we need to support Tunisia because they are stopping African migrants from coming to Europe. So as much as the president of Tunisia made a comment that was deemed inflammatory and racist, don't go too hard on him because this guy, after all, he is the gateway. So if he opens the gates, then you're going to have lots of people, more than 31,000 people coming to your doors. So intelligently, I think it's better to find a middle ground. You need to give him his money. Maybe if you give him his money, he's going to be harsher with these guys and we're going to get less of them on our side. I mean, we're just thinking, what do you think? That's probably the reason. One of the ministers of Italy came forward a few months back saying that France should get his hands off Africa.
Fila in un cunicolo per tirare fuori finisce per lo più nelle casse dello Stato francese. Allora la soluzione non è prendere gli africani e spostarli in Europa. La soluzione è liberare l'Africa da certi europei che la sfruttano e consentire a queste persone di vivere di quello che hanno.
Because one of the main reasons why Africans leave Africa going to Europe is because some European countries still have their hand on African businesses. And this is disabling African countries to grow on their own and make their own economy grow, to create their own growth and wealth. And that's truth. One of the reasons why many African countries are still going through very difficult times is because of that. As soon as some of these European countries will stop merging, getting busy into African situation, regime changes and all those type of things, we firmly believe that many Africans will be able to enjoy their riches, enjoy their wealth, enjoy their own things and grow. And I think if Africans grow, there will certainly be no reason for them to try to go to Europe. Because the reason why many young Africans want to go to Europe is because they think from watching TV that Europe is necessarily better. You're going to get a better life in Europe. You're going to get a better situation automatically, which is not truth. You can do good things in Africa. And this is why I always discourage most of these guys. You don't have to go to Europe to make it in life. Absolutely not. Yes, you can. It may work, not all the time. I mean, you're going to spend a lot of money to traverse these crazy areas of Africa in order to get to Europe, right? That's your goal. That's what you want to do. We know some guys spend 1,000 euros, 2,000 euros, 3,000 euros to go past. With 3,000 euros, you can do a lot of things. That's a lot of money. Even 1,000 euros. Why don't you start a small business? Something very small, somewhere in the corner of your neighborhood. Sell something. Do some exchange, some business, some commerce. Be disciplined. The same discipline you use going across Libya and all these crazy places where you're almost going to lose your life, you could use that trying to build something tangible and strong. Use the same discipline, the same energy, the same strength. That's for African people. On the other side, European countries, I believe, should let Africans work for themselves in order to grow. And that's one of the best way to get them to stay in Africa. As long as they will have a strong hand on African economies, on African decisions, it's going to be impossible for these young Africans to completely stop trying to make it to Europe. God bless.